Hi everyone, Sarah from EarthWise today. As usual, being a naturopath, I like to bring forward topics of conversation depending on what has been presenting in my clinic during the week. But also this is a subject that is very close to my own heart because it is about how stress resilience, or rather the lack of it, can really start to affect mental health. So time and time again in my clinic, I'm observing parents bringing in teenagers or young adults coming in with a lot of mental health issues. These can range from anxiety, depression, or more serious conditions. But what's happening is that, of course, when they're presenting at their general practitioners, doctor's surgery, what tends to be the case is people are just being handed out a group of drugs known as SSRIs, which are selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Now, these work short term for some people if it's just to help them level out their anxiety and their depression, but long term they don't work. So the purpose of this video really is to try and leave you either as a parent with children suffering with mental health issues, or if you are a person yourself, young adult, older adult, suffering too, and it's gone into more long-term chronic stress that is causing more serious issues, I wanted to leave you with some very practical advice with regards to diet and supplements that are widely available and lifestyle factors that you might be able to employ to start to turn this big, massive container ship around slowly but surely. So the SSRIs work short term for some people because they can re-knit together somebody's limbic system, which is the nervous system, to give them a sort of like a sort of a darning, as you would do darning a sock. But if the stress is short term and the stress then trickles into the rest of our life and becomes chronic stress, these drugs don't have much help in that area because they can't be taken long term. Well, they can do, but they don't really have much effect long term as much as you would like. So I think understanding the stress response is a very good place to start, because if we understand that, then we've got something to work with. It's a very natural, ancient and invaluable response in our bodies. It is there to basically detect danger. The brain registers that the body's under danger. A huge amount of adrenaline or cortisol will be spurted out into our bloodstreams to help us either fight the foe in front of us or run away. In that respect, it speeds up the heart rate, it slows down digestion, it can affect the thyroid metabolism, it certainly affects other hormone metabolism in the body, and in short, sharp bursts, providing the person then has the time to then rest and reprieve, the body can retain some equilibrium. But long term, if this sort of situation is going on, it can very much lead to chronic stress. And chronic stress, if there is chronic stress in the body, will lead to increased levels of cortisol all the time in a bloodstream. This very much affects our inflammatory systems. So any autoimmune problems that are in the body, they can really be aggravated with lots of cortisol in the system because it really creates more inflammation in our bodies. It also can depress our immune systems. And so we find that our resistance to colds and flus and just viruses that are going around becomes quite poor. It can really affect our digestion because lots of cortisol in the system is switching the digestive system off the whole time. It doesn't want it on. So a lot of people can actually get IBS, continual IBS, if that adrenaline and cortisol is still pumping out in their system long term. We can get variations in our hormone production, just our normal hormones like estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, but also our other ones, serotonin, dopamine production, thyroid production, and it can very much begin to affect our brain chemistry. And this is a very important point because all mental unwellness, of course, can arrive eventually from this disrupted brain chemistry. So Anxiety, depression, PMS, IBS, quite a disposition of weight around the midriff are all signs of cortisol beginning to build up in our bodies, as well as, of course, fatigue, insomnia, and your acute sort of muscle aches and pains. Now, it's really important for us that the gut health, going back to the good old gut, is in very good working order, because 90% of our serotonin is actually produced in our gut, in our biome. So that's a very important consideration, because if we are going to just rely on SSRI drugs or other tranquilizers and stuff like that to help us with these symptoms as they produce, we're not actually getting to the underlying cause. So stress can, it can start with just fuzzy heads. It can start with us just feeling a little bit under the weather. But when it really takes hold, other things like bloating, digestive problems, the IBS can come in. And when it really takes hold, it has the power to really unravel our health step by step by step. So it's really important that we understand how it works and how we sort of deal with it in a more holistic way, because there is not really for long-term stress a quick fix. It is slowly but surely trying to nurture the nervous system back, to support it and do it as holistically and naturally as possible, obviously. I think it's very, very hard subject to discuss, because of course mental health, which is prevalent in our society at the moment, there is still a stigma attached to it. If you are feeling anxious and you can't work because of your anxiety, or you're feeling depressed and therefore you can't function socially, it adds to the problem if there is this sort of overlying condition that people have that basically means that they don't get to fully resolve it. Not to mention, of course, that post-traumatic stress disorder, for whatever reason, is much, much more prevalent in our society. And also the very real fact that our NHS system does not have the time or the capability and the people that are required to deal with this. So it's an overloaded system. It's not working. Time and time again, you can be calling out for an appointment for your child, your teenager, or you yourself can be calling up, and it will be like, well, we'll get somebody to ring you in 3 weeks' time. Well, it's not good enough. It's not good enough because so many people are suffering. And this is a topic of conversation that I feel very passionate about, because personally I noticed last night, having gone through perhaps 2 or 3 months of quite a lot of stress on a personal level for different reasons, and managing it very, very well, because I am in super, super health. But last night was the first night after 3 months of prolonged stress, worrying about children, worrying about my parents, for example, that I suddenly thought, wow, I can't sleep tonight. And my mind was ticking over. And I suddenly thought, wow, this is a talk that I need to bring to the table quickly and try and offer some help and advice to people regarding this subject, if you're in the same place as I am, and many other people are as well. So I think for me as a naturopath, it's really, really important. I'm just looking at my notes here so I don't get the food sources wrong that I want to impart to you. It's really important to me, as always, that we start with the diet. There are many supplements out there. There are many herbs that I use continually, daily in my herbal practice to help people through these times. But it's no good if the fundamental basis of our nutritional status is not good. So many eating disorders can lead to mental unwellness. Being on constant fight or flight will lead to malabsorption in the body. So the first line of support for a nervous system nutrients that are really important would be leafy green vegetables full of magnesium, particularly good, and B vitamins for the nervous system. I don't really have to explain leafy greens, they're fairly self-explanatory. Of course, a supplement of magnesium, 400 milligrams taken last thing at night, might also be a good idea because our soils are very depleted. B vitamins are always best taken in a B complex alongside with the other members of their family. They are water soluble, you can't take too much, and so basically what you don't need, your body doesn't need, it just pees out. But on the subject of B vitamins, B6 is very important, and as is B5 for the adrenal glands, and this can be found particularly in avocados and bananas, as well as potassium, which is also very important for the nervous system. We've got foods like oats, which are incredibly beneficial because they help to regulate blood sugar levels, and they're very calming as well. It's a herb that I use a lot in practice, actually. Pumpkin seeds and almonds, which are loaded with zinc and magnesium for low mood and mood regulation. Omega-3s, essential. Sardines, salmon. It's very, very difficult, especially with teenagers, to get them to eat oily fish or to get them to eat a healthy diet anyway, but you know, in these cases supplementation is probably a good idea. So the omega-3, 6 and 9, vital as well. Bone broth, root vegetables, things like that, they're not just nourishing, but they rebuild the system. The herbs that I use a lot are adaptogenic herbs. So these are by definition herbs that help the body adapt to a more stressful environment. The ones that I like the best are ashwagandha, because it's a very low, gentle acting herb that doesn't have any contraindications for anybody. I like holy basil because it's also very nourishing, and I love using, like I mentioned before, oats in diet and also in tincture form. Other lifestyle things, you know, trauma therapy is very important. Psychotherapy. I found that the NHS is offering out CBT therapy, but it's not. Cognitive behavioural therapy is not really going deep enough to help people with these long-term problems. So watch out for that, because it's just a short-term solution. There's trauma work. There are loads of trauma therapists around. Gabor Mate is one of the best of the father of advice on trauma, post-traumatic disorders. So he's widely available to listen to on YouTube, and the sort of medicinal journeys that he is recommending are absolutely 100% worth considering. There's a technique called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, which is a tapping technique that you can look up on YouTube. It's widely available as information for people, and that also does help with anxiety and depression. But I think the most important thing for our young people that are suffering with any form of mental unwellness is to realize that they're not broken, and often these events of them crumbling and seeming like it is not getting any better and they are not getting any help is really a call from their soul to go back to well-being. And if they can have our support as adults and parents and friends and family around them that are going to support them, that's obviously so important as well. So from my heart today, guys, I hope this finds you happy and healthy, and I hope, you know, somehow some of this information is of use to you. Any comments, please, I will try and get to answer them. And obviously, if you like what you're hearing, please do subscribe. Thanks again. That's it for now. Bye-bye.